I almost feel bad for doubting this company, but when a company barely has any reputation and barely anyone knows about them, of course you would have some doubts, right? So this figure impressed me so much. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven from X Kurogane Studio today with a scale figure review. Yep, another Nikke figure because I bought 5 Nikke figures in my recent figure haul, and this time around we are checking out another Chinese brand that I have never reviewed before. And the best part about this Nikke figure over here, at least in my case, is that I got her really cheap, Official price is around 30,000 Japanese yen. I got her for 899 Chinese yuan, which is the equivalent of around 21 or 22,000 Japanese yen. Insane. And how did I get her so cheap? Yep, Taobao, right? So if a link is available, I'll put it right up here for the super buy link. I'm not sure if it is still in stock though. If there's no link, then I'll put something else, right, as a replacement. So to get figures from Taobao and ship it to your country, because I wouldn't trust Taobao's own shipping service, you may need a proxy service, which is where this channel's sponsor comes in for today, Superbuy. Superbuy is a proxy service for you to purchase anime figures directly from China's Taobao or any other Chinese website for the matter. You can go ahead to Taobao, search for the anime figures that you want, copy and paste the link over into their search engine, and you will be able to buy any anime figures from a Chinese seller really cheaply, sometimes below market price compared to a Japanese website. And you can always head to the Superbuy subreddit r/Superbuy to ask any questions, where they actually have a representative who will answer all of your questions. This service, this website has been around for 13, 14 years, I think. So they're extremely reliable and I use their service myself. If you have not signed up for a Superbuy account yet, you can do so using my link down in the description below and start shopping for figures at a lower price over in China, just like this one over here. Alright, so what we are looking at is Otaku Toys 1/7 scale Isabel from Goddess of Victory Nikke. Official price for the deluxe version or the bonus version is 29,500 yen, where a small wall scroll is included in the box. The standard version is like 2,000 yen cheaper, and over in China, the official MSRP price is 1,199 Chinese yuan. I got her for 900, like I mentioned earlier. And the release date would be December 2025, back last year in China. That is China only. For everyone else internationally, the release date was 2nd of February earlier this year, 3 months ago. Speaking of the height of this Isabel figure, I actually forgot to measure it in advance. Looks like the head height is around 25 centimeters, but if you include the backpack, the wings here, 26 or so, which is right in the 1/7 scale territory. And you know what? This may sound like a surprise to you, but out of the 5 figures I purchased in my recent figure haul, which featured Nikke figures only, this one may be the best one in terms of quality control. You see, I was so reluctant to pay almost 30,000 yen for a brand that I know nothing of, I've never heard of. I mean, I've heard of them, but I don't know what their quality is like because nobody talks about this brand, Otaku Toys. So I was only willing to buy it when I saw a bargain bin. And she turned out to be the best one among the 5 in QC. Yes. So before I proceed, a quick mention about the box. The box is actually pretty small, way smaller than I expected, right? Though the quality of the box is your typical paper box, not very protective of the figure. If the postman trashes your box, then the figure might get damaged. Especially the wings over here, they are pretty thin. I was pretty afraid that they might fracture during shipping, so that is one thing to think about. If you were to use a proxy service like Superbuy to buy this one, I would recommend putting additional protections like EPE foam or even corner protectors just to protect the figure. And as you can see, mine arrived in perfect condition, including the box, right? Box design is nice. I would give this a 6 or 6.5 out of 10. Nice design, but not protecting the figure much, right? Just above average. So moving on to the sculpt of this figure. Once again, the first thing I do is to compare it to the official product pictures. Looks identical. I'm pretty happy by that. And The best detailed parts of this figure has to be her outfit, and that is also one of the main attraction points for me. I love it when anime or game characters has this slight science fiction theme going on with weapons or armor. This character's design reminds me of both Neon Genesis Evangelion and also a little bit of Frame Arms Girls, and that is a really good thing. So when I see details like this, I would be really tempted to buy the figure, and even better when it is a Nikke figure. And in this case, if you pay attention to the details on her outfit, on her body, they are replicated to perfection. I'm not seeing any ugly gaps or seam lines, not seeing any quality control related issues. Of course, there are zero mold lines, and I was very impressed, right? For a brand that nobody talks about, and once again, I've never bought before, yeah, I suppose that the relatively high prices are justified when they can put out this kind of quality. The overall sculpt of this figure is a 9 out of 10. Yes, 9 out of 10. Both the body and the face. The face is also pretty much identical to the character design in the game, to the official product pictures. They look identical. Though I can understand that Isabel is not really the most popular Nikke character. That might be why she bargain bint, at least in China. Yeah, I've heard about this from my friends who play the game. She's not as popular, but given the character design of this thing, I just had to get it. It is my kind of thing. So 9 out of 10 is one of the highest scores I've given to 1/7 scale anime figures so far. It is not common. Yeah. And I am so stingy that you almost never see me give 10 out of 10 for sculpts. This 9 out of 10 is also pretty rare. So this is high praise coming from me for a figure like this. And if we were to move to the paintwork, things get even better, because given the amount of details this character has in the design, the shading is very heavy. You can see a lot of different shades of purple color, violet color on her outfit. Even on this piece over here next to her, the shading is very nicely done. I love seeing this in anime figures. And despite all of the tiny details on this figure, there is not a single flaw to be found. No paint transfer, no scratches, no paint bleeding, no glue leaking out, no part fitting issues. Yes, this thing is flawless, man. Both sculpt and paintwork completely flawless. I almost feel bad for doubting this company, but when a company barely has any reputation and barely anyone knows about them, of course you would have some doubts, right? So this figure impressed me so much. Yes, and one more thing would be the backpack over here, which we really need to talk about. It really reminds me of the stuff I see in Gundam series, which once again is my thing. I no longer play with Gunpla nowadays because I don't have the patience. And I'm not happy with Bandai in general as a brand because they are neglecting Master Grade. I want my MG kits. So this wing over here reminds me of some of the Gundams in Gundam Seed. Yeah, Strike Freedom, what else? The Calria, White Knight, stuff like that. Yes. And these translucent pieces over here on the wings, I would imagine that if you have some yellow or warm colored LEDs and you install it at the bottom of your display shelf, you fire it upwards, the wings are going to look beautiful, right? I have some of it in my cabinets, but I'm too lazy to set up the lighting over here. But these kind of parts are begging to be lighted up with LEDs. Yeah. So even in the backpack over here, both the sculpt and the paintwork, they are perfect. And these wings over here, as you can see, they are somewhat articulated. You can change the angle if you wish, or maybe she's taking up too much space, right? The wingspan is too big, you can bend it back slightly and the figure still looks attractive regardless. This is my favorite part about this figure. However, the bad news is that you can't avoid this. There is this huge and thick metal rod behind supporting the wings, more than sufficient. This rod is super thick, super sturdy, it won't break. The only part where you should be afraid of breaking is the wing, so be careful with it when you handle the figure. One more thing before I give it a score. In my unboxing video, I did mention that I was not a fan of the finish over here on the paintwork compared to Good Smile Company's Modernia. I think it was Good Smile Arts Shanghai's Modernia, right? Modernia was a bit glossy, a bit shiny in some places and matte in other places. So in general, I love to see a figure with different finishes. Some parts are metallic, some parts are gloss, some parts are matte, and others in between, right? So when you have different texture and different finishes, the figure looks more detailed than usual. But for this Isabel figure over here, she is mostly matte finish, no matter where it is. Maybe these armor pieces on the side, these are semi gloss, not full gloss. This carbon fiber like texture on the side, they are semi gloss. But most of the figure, 90% of it, they are matte finish. So on one hand, the good thing about matte finish is that now they look amazing when you do photography, not too reflective when you shine a light source. And the negative thing about matte finish is that number one, it does not look as nice as the gloss finish figures, and number two, they are a bit easier to scratch by accident. For example, your fingernails, if you're not careful, things like that, right? So this is purely a subjective thing. I wouldn't say that gloss is better than matte or the other way around. This is subjective, but this paint finish on this figure, if there's one thing I would like to change a little bit, I wish that these metal parts on the backpack and maybe a bit of it on the side of her outfit over here are painted in metallic finish rather than matte finish. Yeah. Some of the black color areas or darker color areas on the body here, they are semi-gloss, but I would love to see some metallic parts included over here. Metallic finish, I mean. But this is not going to affect the score that I will give this figure, which is a 9.5 out of 10. Also, one of the highest scores I've ever given to any anime figure, regardless of scale or brand. 9.5 out of 10. And the reason why she's not getting a full 10 out of 10 is my rant about the metallic or gloss finish earlier. Yeah, just a bit more. And this would be an ideal anime figure to me. The last part, the base, this is probably the weakest part of this figure. But it is the weakest simply because I personally prefer a diorama base, like what Good Smile gave to their Scarlet and also Modernia, a rock base with a bit of grass on it. That is what I prefer. Compact diorama base that does not take up too much space. So this one over here, we get a hexagonal plastic disc, better than the round glossy ones that look very cheap and are very easy to scratch as well. And matte finish once again. Now for bases like this, matte finish is a good thing because they are harder to scratch by accident, and the design language of the base is mostly consistent with the theme of the entire figure, which is like sci-fi, science fiction. So this base, I would still give it a 7 out of 10. Right? It is better than the glossy cheap plastic bases, but not as good as diorama bases. So overall, as a conclusion for today's figure review, can I recommend this Isabel figure? It is a big yes, right? Maybe you don't like this character as much compared to Red Hood or Cinderella or Modernia, the more popular characters. But still, this figure or this brand, Otaku Toys, is like an underdog right now. They really surprised me. They exceeded my expectations. And even if you're paying like 27,000 yen for this thing, including a wall scroll, if you can find her at a small discount and not pay more than 30,000 yen for her, she is still worth looking into. Yes, of course, try and get her from China's Taobao if you can, even if you have to go to Superbuy and you can find her for even cheaper.